So one of the things I'm considering is just replacing the original Model 4 power supply with a couple of modern switchers, which would be these two right here. And the reason there's two is there's a primary switcher here which provides the +5, the +12 for RS-232 and for the floppy drives, and then the -12 for the, again, the RS-232 and whatever else uses -12. And then a separate +12 simply for the video. On the original power supply, there's actually a second output here directly for the monitor to isolate the monitor's +12 from the floppy drive +12, and that way as the stepper motors step and you get current droop and noise in that 12-volt rail, it doesn't cause the monitor screen to flicker. And so I've just chosen to go with two inexpensive meanwhile switchers here. This is a 65 watt power supply. This is a 66 watt, I believe. It matched up pretty well. This is an RT65B, I guess it's 65 watt then. RT65V, its V1 is +5 at 5 amps, V2 is +12 at 2.8 amps, and V3 is -12 at 0.5 amps. So it's a really good replacement for the original supply. Sorry for the background noise. And this is an RS-15-12, which is 12 volts at 1.3 amps, which will be absolutely plenty for the monitor. So between the two of these, we could do a more modern switching replacement, which I think would be more efficient than this, and actually probably give better isolation to the video. So the next question becomes, is we have the inside lid here, and make sure I've got this the right orientation. And this power supply, original one set here, and then there's a ribbon cable, a power cable inside of the Model 4 that plugs down onto here, and then this whole assembly gets flipped over and set down into the case. And so we need to kind of emulate that here. And the approach I took was to design a small circuit board. This isn't the final layout, but it's close. That will have these two headers on it, and actually there's a little header in here for the fan as well, +12 for the fan. So the 0.156 headers and the 0.1 header. It'll have equivalent headers here, the fan power there, and here, and then takeoffs that'll come out to the switching power supplies. And the layout of these is in the same order as what we have here. So we've got, +5, and then the next pin is common, etc. So this matches exactly this layout. And then there's 5 on here that exactly match this layout. So it's just one-to-one wiring. You could produce a cable that then plug down onto headers on here, or you could just solder in leads and directly wire it up, which is what I'll probably do. I'm undecided, but what'll happen here is this board will mount about there. The mounting holes have been moved to center. I need this supply to clear. There's a screw hole here. So as we think about this further mechanically, there's the back panel of the system, which screws on here. So there's a screw that comes through the center here that we can't butt this up against, or the screw would collide into it. And so we need some amount of room for that to clear, and enough room here to be able to run wires without lots of stress to the connections here. And I really think the best positioning for this would be about like this. It does block some of the airflow here. I don't think that'll be a problem. Because of the way I laid the board out with the one-to-one, I really can't swap these. I probably could have laid the board out with these swapped, and it would have been less blockage, but I didn't do that. So there are screw holes on the base here. Really, there's 2 mounting screw holes on the base. There's 2 mounting screw holes on the base, and they need to transfer those onto this lid to create a drawing pattern. And so to do this, I've cut out 2 paper templates that represent the two power supplies. And what I need to do here is match that template up on top, identify the screw holes, and punch into them. I know I felt it there. Right there it is. So that identifies the two screw holes, and of course with this up, it'll give me a plate, a place to screw down that'll represent this. And we need to do the same thing with this one, and again I'm going to flip it upside down so it's laid out to the same size and layout. I've got one right there. I've got one right there. And that should give me a good enough drill guide to be able to drill this. So with our paper representation, I should be able to take the lid. And we've basically said we want to position this one in here someplace. I'd like them square. So we have to be able to go something like this and have this be okay. Of course, I'm not spotting the tape. Of course I'm not, I need it. Oh, that's really inconvenient. You could potentially use double-sided tape to mount these in here. However, the metal box this is in needs to go to the earth ground, the third prong on the incoming power cord. And screwing onto the sheet metal is a good way to make connection. There is the third pin in here is an earth pin, and I did route those earth pins on the little circuit board wherever I put the circuit board layout that was floating around here. That is routed onto this, and it routes over to this mounting hole here. However, this mount kind of floats here, and so it's not making a great ground contact. So that's not enough without doing something else. And I've just decided the best way to do this is to drill the holes and mount these directly on. So I know I'm kind of yapping away here. Let me look for the blue tape, and it's just really not here at the moment. But there's some Scotch tape. This will work. To be a little bit squarer than that. Oh, of course. That one there. This one kind of lined up on that one. Let's set these on top and see what physically we end up with. I've got plenty of clearance for the screw hole here, or for the screw that'll come through here, and for the lead that'll run over to the circuit board. I think that's good. I think those two spots will work. So I'm going to simply take the little punch outs, and I'm going to basically get a circle down onto, or a marking down onto the board. Look for a drill bit that seems about the appropriate size. I think that's going to be a little bit big. This screw is it's too long, but it is essentially the right diameter. See, that bit seems a little too big to me. That seems like a more appropriate bit. Let me find my waste board, wherever it ended up. Funny how things are never sitting where they're supposed to be. Soldering pencil wouldn't do me any good. I just almost grabbed it there. These do have a bit of a burr to them, which is really no surprise. I should be able to take that burr off. This is a countersinking bit, but apparently it's not wanting to be not wanting to clear that burr up. Well, I don't honestly know if I'm going to be able to find countersunk screws or not. So we'll deburr this the old school way, which is just get myself a nice large drill bit. So, next thing I need to do is find a few screws that'll fit there, so I'll be back in a second, hopefully with some screws. Oh. So the screws need to be pretty short for this to actually work and be the proper thread. I don't know. That looks like it's going to be too small with thread, but I'll give it a shot here. Yeah, definitely too small. Sure, that's the wrong thread. Yep, it's a finer thread than that. It feels like the right thread. Bitches, it's a flat head. I prefer non-flat head screw. If we're going to find anything shorter than that or not. Well, after a few minutes of digging here, I found 4-match screws that look like they will work well for this. Sorry about the loud pops there. Hopefully I can keep from losing them. They are short, but the sheet metal's pretty thin. They could probably be a little bit longer, but this will guarantee that they won't poke through. It looks to me like the power supply is actually lined inside as well. So let me see if I can line up. Those line up really well. So let's see if I have enough length here to get a good bite and not lose the screw. Yeah, that felt just fine. Yep, that also lines up really well. Sometimes I have to come back and enlarge the hole slightly because the alignment wasn't great, but in this case it looks like I got really good alignment between what I drilled and the mounting holes. These actually are 4-match screws. We've got a nice solid, plenty of threads turned into the power supply. I could actually probably put a lock washer on these. That mounts them really well. So the next question becomes, will it actually fit? I did some test looking. I'm pretty sure it will. Here is the chassis. I have to be really careful with this because A, the face of the CRT is completely exposed here with the bezel gone, and B, dropping things in could snap that neck tube off. So this is that connector that we talked about, or the set of connectors. On this little board, the AC power will come onto here. The fan will mount to there. And this is 1-to-1 with the original power supply. So the main system board power gets picked up here, and the video power, which is the purple lead there, gets picked up there. So the real question becomes, with this in place, is everything clear? Plenty of room. I don't know how well you can see down in there, but there's plenty of room between every face of the, every bit of the CRT and the other electronics. Looks like that will be a really good way to mount this, and I think that convinces me that I'm going to go ahead and replace with these new switchers. And this assembly really just folds up out this way, and there's enough slack in these cables to fold along with it. So happy with that. I think this will be a really nice upgrade. It should help with video stability, which the little bit I saw looked really nice before, but give us good, clean power for the system. I'll still pursue repairing the original power supply, but at this point I like this. I've just noticed there's a little grommet right there. So these are the floppy drive power connections, and there's a little grommet here to keep those from getting pinched. I need to be sure to get that back in place. Pretty happy with how this is coming together. So I think we'll wrap this video up. Pretty happy with how that came together.